All right, IM3 classes. Today we are talking about multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So continuing on what we did yesterday, it is very similar to just simplifying rationals. So remember from yesterday, you're given a rational expression. So a polynomial over another polynomial in a fraction. You factor the top, factor the bottom, cross out common factors, and you're done. All right, that's what we're doing today because multiplying, it just involves more factoring. All right, so let's look at an example, a worked out example, so you can pause the video and look through this if you need to. This is also in the textbook, but whatever. So we have basically we have a monomial here and then 3 polynomials. Factor everything that factors, and then any common factors in the top and bottom cancel out. The one thing is finding excluded values. I would look at the excluded values after you factor. So if we look here to see what the excluded values are, so remember it's going to be opposite. So excluded values from this denominator here are going to be -2 and +4. And then the excluded values from this one are going to be -2 and +5. So we actually only have 3 excluded values, -2, 4, and 5. All right, so let's work through an example here. We're going to simplify and find the excluded value. So a little bit different factoring on each of these. X squared minus 9. First of all, a square minus a square. This is a difference of squares. So that top one there is going to factor into x plus or minus the square root of 9 is 3. On the bottom, I'm going to do an x factor off to the side here. So -24 on top, -5 on bottom, -20. It's actually -24 that add to -5. That's going to be -8, +3. So the factor is there. So we're looking at 3, +3. So the factors from that are going to be x minus 8, and then x plus 3 times. I'm going to put the x minus 8 in parentheses just so we know that is its own factor. We keep that together. This one here, I need to factor out. I can factor out a 2x. And I'm left with x minus 9. All right. From here, so I can easily see the excluded values. So I'm going to do the excluded values before I simplify everything real quick. So remember to find the excluded values, just set each of these equal to 0 and solve. So from here, x minus 8 is equal to 0. The excluded value from that would be +8. The next one we have is x plus 3 is equal to 0. So subtract 3 from both sides, the excluded value being -3. Next one, 2x is equal to 0. So you divide both sides by 2, the excluded value would be 0. And then x minus 9 is equal to 0. The excluded value, add 9 on both sides, you get x equals 9. So excluded values, 8, -3, 0, 9. And then the last step, let's go ahead and finish simplifying this. Cross out common factors in the top and bottom. So I have an x plus 3 and x plus 3. And I have an x minus 8 and an x minus 8. And that is it. So on top, I'm going to have x minus 3 over 2x times x minus 9. There we go. So factor everything and cancel out common factors. Let's move on. The next one is a bit of the same thing. Will be easier on that one. Let's move on to division. All right. So when you dividing, if you remember how to divide fractions, what you do, you multiply by the reciprocal, and then it's the same thing. So it's the same type of problem. You look here, so we have x plus 7 squared divided by x squared over x squared divided by x squared plus 9x plus 14 over x squared plus x minus 2. If you look here, the first thing that happens is this gets flipped. So the x squared plus 9 becomes, goes to the denominator. And we have the x squared plus x minus 2 goes to the numerator, right? So it's flipping that second rational expression. And then it's just like the problem we just did, all right? Where you factor everything that factors, cancel out common factors, and then simplify. The one difference here with the excluded values, anything that is in the denominator at any point of this equation, you need to figure for an excluded value. So first, so the factors of x squared plus x minus 2, since that's in the denominator, in a minute, since that's in the denominator, you need to, you can see here, you do the factors, you get the excluded values from there, excluded values from here, -7, -2, and then the last one, excluded values from here. All right, so let's work through an example. First thing I'm going to do is flip the second fraction and change it to multiplication. So x squared plus 2x minus 3 over 2x plus 6. All right, now I can factor all this. So x plus 11, I'm actually going to put that in parentheses to remind that's factor, times -3 on top, 2x on bottom, factor -3, that to 2, that's going to be +3, -1. So that's going to be x minus 3, or no, x plus 3, x minus 1, and then on the bottom, I'm going to factor that. That's going to be, factor out a 2, get x plus 3. So the excluded values, anything that's in the denominator at any point. So x plus 3, x minus 1, 4x, and there's x plus 3. So these are going to give the same excluded value. So I'm going to do that once. But x plus 3 is equal to 0. So the excluded value from that is -3. X minus 1 is equal to 0. Excluded value is +1. And 4x equals 0. Divide the x. The excluded value is going to be 0. So 3 excluded values. Now that we have the excluded values figured, cancel out common factors in top and bottom. Just the one there. And then when you multiply things back together, don't worry about foiling it out or multiplying. Just write it, leave it in its factored form. So x plus 11 times x minus 1 over the one thing that you do multiply if there's whole numbers. So if you look down here, you have 2 times 4. Go ahead and multiply that out. If there's fractions up here, like if there was a 4 up here, you'd want to simplify all those. But go ahead and multiply that out. So it'll be 8x on bottom. We can leave it like that. That'll do it for today. Next time we're going to be adding and subtracting rationals. So we'll see you next time.